I'm Patrick Burke. I'm from Golden Pheasant Road. I have some comments on the purchase of the Olsen building. Can that be spoken about at this time? Okay.
We don't have anything in regards to that I saw.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, fine. First, this is about a 5-minute presentation. So, this is a little short history here on concrete block buildings. During a post-World War II era, and all the way into the late 60s and early 70s, concrete block construction was a way to get more square footage for the dollar. This was a time of rapid economic growth in our country. They were the post buildings of their day. Erected steel and concrete tilt-up construction has made concrete block buildings mostly obsolete. Their lifespan, like the pole building, the lifespan of a concrete block structure is limited, depending on the quality of the concrete components, block, mortar, and foundation. Lifespan can be as little as 25 to 30 years. Cement block buildings do not fare well in the Pacific Northwest. Our humidity prematurely causes the blocks and mortar to leach their lime and disintegrate. Climate conditions will deteriorate any steel rebar that may be in the block spaces. Unlike their modern cousin, the concrete tilt-up building, block buildings are full of voids and air spaces, allowing permeation of moisture, causing a shorter service life. As a concrete tilt-up building reaches its maximum concrete hardness in about its 25th year, in that same period of time, the block building is in decay of one stage or another. As sometimes referred to as cinder blocks, for years ash and cinders were mixed into concrete as a filler. Today this includes incinerated chemical waste. Now the Olsen building. Just a brief walk around this building shows obvious signs of the deterioration I've just described to you. The structure exhibits vertical cracking that runs from the roof to the floors. These cracks run directly through the blocks, not just around the mortar lines. And I have some photographs of that building that we'll take Monday for your viewing pleasure. It's very obvious that this structure needs to be subject of an inspection by a licensed structural seismic, I want to repeat, seismic engineer, and a report issued on its actual condition. Until such an inspection is conducted, no further talk of purchase should be even considered. This period of time would give county staff a chance to get some realistic cost estimates on any future renovation of this building. A further concern is the building's location in Shelton. It sits on the backfill portion of town, and you may remember San Francisco in 1988 in its backfilled marina district. A major quake will cause a phenomenon called liquefaction. It's my belief that the whole downtown area with its non-reinforced masonry structures will be an unbelievable tragedy, a lot of it depending on the time of day it happens and if it's the long-anticipated big one. It is obvious at a glance that the glazing in this building is not the code. There's talk that there's an issue with the roofing, and the high-vac system will surely require expensive modification to heat and cool room enclosures, perhaps even a complete replacement. Electrical and plumbing are a whole separate issue. It's my belief that this building is not now or probably ever suitable to be a publicly county-owned building. Now, as two of our current commissioners are former real estate professionals, I'm puzzled as to why they did not tie this property up with an option to purchase for 90 days or so, and then research the costs involved and then present a sensible plan to the public about the anticipated costs with a plan to pay for all of it. As this commission has a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers, I expect this process to be done by the numbers and all the bases to be covered. Webster's Collegiate Dictionary defines the word malfeasance as to cause harm or injury. The harm will definitely be to the taxpayers. The injury could come in the form of the big one at 10 a.m. on a busy workday. Now, a note here, as to my comments on concrete block construction, as a young guy, I worked on a concrete block construction crew, so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about here. In addition, a far better move would have been to repurpose the old PUD building as a commissioners and staff center with its auditorium and parking availability. It would have been a logical choice. It would be would leave the first floor of this building available for conversion to courtrooms, as I believe it was probably intended to be from the beginning. Now, in closing, and I'd like our member of the Journal here to take note of this, Until Mason County can find a reliable revenue stream that does not cause further hardship on its property owners, a revenue stream that is uniquely our own, that we don't have to share with the state, we will continue to have this dilemma of funding our public safety issues, a new jail being the most pressing at this time. I strongly urge you to make the right decision here. To those who have entrusted you, please get it right or just don't do it at all. Thank you.
Mr. Burke, just so you know, is it possible to get him a copy, even though it hasn't official of the inspection? See any?
Sure, I can forward it to him.
We will provide you with a copy. We did have it inspected.
Yeah, but who inspected it?
Well, you'll see all that.
Was it done by a structural engineer?
Again,
with a seismic degree?
We will get that to you, and whether it meets your standards or not, it meets the standards that is required by the state and by us as a licensed inspector for commercial. But with that, also, I want to point out that we'll get you a copy of that. We do have a contingency that helps to protect us, to make sure that everything goes through. Everything is contingent until a final vote from this commission, too, by the way. So if that's an issue you have, we took care of that in doing the paperwork. And I wanted to inform you that we did look at the PUD building originally, quite a while back. We did the same thing. We sent people over. We had them look at it, and the costs for bringing that back to us was way higher than we could afford to do. So I'm just letting you know that we did a lot of the stuff that you're saying. We actually have done that.
Well, you're looking at purchasing a building that's probably about 60 years old that's disintegrated.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, want to make a correction. I am not a real estate professional.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, my apologies.
I wasn't going to make that for you. Tom, please.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tom Davis, resident of District 2 in Mason County. I'd like to talk on the same topic as you might expect. There's a couple of things I think should be considered. As you know, I make no secret that I think this is a terrible idea for the variety of reasons that I brought forth. But in addition to those, it's no secret also that the Olsen business was in trouble for a number of years. And when you're in financial trouble, you don't normally keep up the maintenance of things that you normally would when you're hard pressed for cash. So, in some degree, I see this as buying somebody else's troubles. I too looked at the building. I have some experience in real estate, and I certainly wondered whether or not anybody on this commission would purchase that building if you had a use for it for that price, if it wasn't with public money. Simply because I would never have done that, and I assume because you, I know, are a real estate professional, and I just didn't see you in that position doing that, especially knowing that there's going to be subsequent costs that are going to be extensive, and where those monies are going to come from, because REIT is not a bottomless pit of money, and every time I hear REIT, I just wonder, wow, how much is in this fund? Because if it's going to be used for various long-term obligations for debt and so on, and every time I see something about a sewer system, it always seems to be the money's coming out from REIT. So I don't think it's entirely forthcoming to say that all this money is coming out of REIT. I would suspect that no matter what you do, the current expense fund is going to be impacted, whether it's this or any other project of this magnitude that you get yourself involved in. It's always going to impact current expense. There are always hidden costs. There are always more than you anticipate. If you ever built a house, you know it takes twice as long, costs twice as much money. Those are just the facts of life. I wonder why you would do this, because I have maybe more faith than you think in your judgment at this when it comes to real estate transactions. The other thing I'd like to bring up is that nobody I know is for this. Maybe we run in different circles, but I talk to the city. Everyone I talk to says this is a bad idea. Now, be that as it may, I was lectured the other day that you were elected to represent the people, but I'm at a loss to know who you're representing in this deal. Who is it that you're representing? There's a lot of people who are against it. I haven't met anybody who's for it. I haven't heard anybody speak for it. I don't know if you're getting letters that says, yeah, this is a great idea, let's do this. But I have to question who you're doing this for. And I'm, bear in mind, it's not my intention to lecture, but it is my intention to review something that I think is worthy of another revisit, and that's the RCW 42.56.030.
Whoa. 42, 56,
030, which
Okay.
I would pay for a plaque and put it up on that wall if you would like to take me up on that. And it says, the people of this state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies that serve them. The people, in delegating authority, do not give their public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so that they may maintain control over the instruments that they have created. This chapter shall be liberally construed and its exemptions narrowly construed to promote this public policy and to assure that the public interest will be fully protected. In the event of a conflict between the provisions of this chapter and any other act, the provisions of this chapter shall govern. Now that's something I've heard I think I might have, years ago before you folks came to the bench, I might have brought up when I discovered, and I have this framed in my house, and I'm naive enough to think that it still applies in all decision-making policy decisions. That did not take place at this time for this particular proposal. None of this really took place in an open, forthcoming atmosphere where people could participate before it got this far down along the line. So at this point, I would probably start repeating myself, so I just want to add that I still don't think it's a good idea. I think it's going to hang around your neck at some point, and I think it's going to be a money pit that will never, ever be filled up to anyone's satisfaction.
Just want to clarify, the one you mentioned is the Public Records Act, right?
It's not, it comes under construction.
Yeah, but under the Public Records Act.
Yeah, on
Just thought I would share
Title
that with you.
42.
Yeah, which is, has a purpose under the Public Records Act. It's literally listed under the Public Records Act.
What's the point?
0.56 is Public Records Act, and this is a subset of it. I just want to make sure we're on the same place.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Would there be a difference in what it means?
Yeah, we have 36, which all of the RCWs, which apply strictly to the county and the county government. You have 56, which applies to the port governments. You have, but I just wanted to verify that we're on the same one, that you're taking a subsection out of one particular thing out of the Public
Right,
Records
it
Act.
applies to, okay, I think we're on
Thank
the
you.
same page.
Okay, with that, is there anybody else who would like to testify on any issue that's not on the agenda? Hearing none, we will move forward.